This is the new 992 Carrera 4 GTS. And before I tell you why this is not the GT3's road-going alternative, have a listen to this. This may be 2022 and we might be this close to electric car takeover, but this is still a proper 911. I mean, sure, it's not as loud or as raw as the previous versions, but trust me, if I would strap you in the passenger seat with a blindfold on and I would step on the gas on this car, it would just take you a couple of seconds to know that you're in a 911. Now, in today's video, I'm gonna tell you why this is not really a GT3 alternative for the road, as some journalists claim, and then we'll tackle the big one, so to speak. Is this car worth the premium over the Carrera S variant? Before we go further into this video, I want to first show you the spec of this car, both inside and out, and explain a little bit about what is a GTS 911. So this is a Carrera 4 GTS, meaning it's a four-wheel driven GTS 992 Porsche model. It's finished in this gorgeous red color, but it's not the classic Guards red Porsche color. It is carmine red. It costs about 2,000 euros to spec to your car, but I think it looks stunning if you ask me. It's just a bit more of a deeper red compared to the classic Guards red cars. Now the GTS features the center lock 992 turbo wheels. Good luck getting these repaired at your local tire shop, because as far as I know, only Porsche dealerships can really take the wheels off of this car. But anyway, the wheels look absolutely fantastic, and the same goes for the braking system, both in the front and in the back. It's taken directly from the 992 turbo, and it is quite big, especially in the front. As you can see, we have 20-inch alloys, 245 35s in the front and 305s in the rear. You have to trust me because I can. Oh yeah, it's 305 30 21 inches at the back, so a bit of a staggered look. In the back we have the sports exhaust as standard, and the whole sport design kit, I think that's what it's called, is standard on all GTS models. The interior is standard 911, but that's not a bad thing. Driving position is spot on, you sit low, but you have great visibility all around. The dials are almost entirely digital except for the central rev counter. The infotainment system has a big screen which makes it very easy to use, but also retains a few buttons for some of its features. These are the 18-way adjustable sport seats, and they are excellent. However, they don't leave much room in the back except for maybe small kids or luggage. And finally we have the GT steering wheel with the Manettino style drive mode selector. Overall, as you'd expect, this interior is a very nice place to be. Now, I know YouTube is all about clickbait titles and everything, but this car couldn't be more different than a GT3 992. It's got a totally different engine, obviously, a totally different suspension system, totally different gearbox. You get the gist. It basically only shares the 911 name with the GT3. I was lucky enough to drive a GT3 for about 30 minutes or so, and I don't know where these people come from comparing that car to this. This is a more comfortable 911, it's got back seats, it's got a more refined and quiet cabin, and if you think this is a road-going alternative to the GT3, then why wouldn't the Carrera S be one as well? I mean, it's only got 30 horsepower less than this car, it's got pretty much the same engine, same gearbox, same suspension system, and so on. So if you think that by purchasing a 992 GTS you're basically getting a cheaper GT3, I've got bad news for you. So if you can, drive the two cars back to back and you'll see what I mean. Now on to the big one and the comparison that I actually think makes much more sense. Is it worth paying 30 grand more for a GTS rather than just having a Carrera S? Well, yes and no. Yes, buy one because it is just that tiny bit better and more focused than a Carrera S. And also by buying the GTS you have access to some optional extras that you wouldn't otherwise have if you would have bought a Carrera S. The most obvious one would be the lightweight package, which in my opinion is a must-have for this car, and it totally transforms it for the better. Now I was lucky enough to be able to drive one of those as a short test drive at my local dealer, and it is a bit more raw than this one. With the manual transmission is more engaging, the shifter is shorter so the changes are faster, the back seats are gone, the engine is more audible on the inside, and it just makes for a much more involving and exciting driving experience. Now that being said, don't think for a second that this car is not properly fun to throw around some B-roads. The torque and power increase, although it might not seem like much on paper, is very noticeable when you're on it, and when you put the car in Sport Plus mode you can definitely feel it is a bit firmer and a bit more focused than the Carrera S is. So yeah, if I were in the market for a 992 right now, and of course I couldn't touch the GT products because yeah, there's a huge waiting line for one, I would definitely seriously consider the new GTS. But like I've said, only if I could spec it with the lightweight package and the manual transmission. On the other hand, one of the reasons you might want to steer clear of the GTS is pricing. The non-lightweight package car costs around 20 grand more than the Carrera S, and because the GTS is basically an S with all the sporty options as standard, and considering you don't really get much more in terms of performance, that price hike might seem a bit excessive. So if you think that the standard kit you get in the GTS is not your cup of tea, you might be better off just getting the S and adding the options you like best. Otherwise, what can I tell you? You'll never go wrong if you want a sports car and you end up buying a 911. They're just very good at everything basically. It's still a great driver's car. It's quite a practical one. It's quite comfortable. It's got plenty of storage spaces. The suspension, when you leave it into comfort mode or normal as Porsche calls it, it's perfectly fine even on bumpy roads. It's also got a front boot which is decent space. You also got luggage room behind the back seat, so you can't really fault this car, can you? But anyway, my friends, this has been a quick review of the 992 Carrera 4 GTS. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please give this video a thumbs up if you have, and make sure you're subscribed because I might be doing some more videos.